Well, today I'm going to speak on chapter 6, and this chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita is again a very important one because it does talk about a path very close to Ashtanga Yoga and Hatha Yoga. In this chapter of Atma Sanyam Yoga, chapter 6, Sri Krishna is talking about yoga lifestyle, which is a very important aspect, which is covered in Hatha Yoga, which is there in Ashtanga Yoga also. The process of meditation, how to meditate, Sri Krishna describes it in this chapter. The entire process to where to focus, how to sit. Another interesting principle that Sri Krishna has described in this chapter is how we should really help ourselves. We expect other people to help us. I have a little psychological problem, so I look for a psychotherapist, counselor. I have a little cough, so I go and find a doctor. I need some legal help, so I find a lawyer. So our society, our social conditionings have made us look for help outside. Any little thing I need, I look outside. And Sri Krishna is saying that no, you have to help yourself. As far as the spiritual evolution is concerned, it's okay, it's all right if other things you look outside and you get help from outside. That's a different thing. But as far as your own life is concerned, as far as your own evolution is concerned, as far as getting rid of your suffering is concerned, it's you have to help yourself. So these are some of the important aspects that are covered in the chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll go one by one into these aspects. So let's start with the beginning of this chapter 6. Sri Krishna is again saying that the path of Nishkama Karma, where you give up the attachment to the fruit of the action, that becomes extremely important. Again in chapter 6 he is repeating that. I'll tell you something interesting. When we are doing any karma, there is a psychological cost associated with that. Think of this word that I am using, psychological cost. When you get into a relationship, there is a psychological cost to it. When you are becoming a friend with someone, there is a psychological cost associated with that. When you work in the office, there is a psychological cost connected to this. What I mean by psychological cost? When you say I am stressed, that's a cost you're paying. When you say, oh, I'm anxious, that's the cost. And I'm angry, that's a cost. So all of these negative experiences that we have, it's connected with the cost that I'm paying. So if I'm doing any karma, there is a cost to it. How to get rid of this cost and do my karma so that I get, not I have to pay. I get a positive result of that. I get a positive experience of that, and not that I have to pay something for it. So this is a very important aspect of Karma Yoga, where Sri Krishna is empowering us to experience positivity and not really depend on other people or other situations for my state of mind. So this point is again highlighted in chapter 6 to start with, and then Sri Krishna is going for that important aspect that I told you. Uddharit atmana atmanam, natmanam avasadayat, atmaiva yatmano bandhur, atmaiva ripur atmanaha. Who is your enemy? There is no enemy outside. You are your own enemy. And who is your friend? You are your own friend. But this is a very important aspect of our everyday life. Just look at how we treat ourselves. If I make a mistake, I criticize myself. I do not support myself. I talk down to myself. I get angry at myself. I am disappointed in myself. If my friend makes a mistake, I go and support my friend. I say, don't worry, it's fine, everyone makes mistake. You will be good next time. If I make a mistake, I do not support myself that way. I criticize myself. I say, you're no good, you are a failure, you don't deserve it. This is a very wrong approach as per Sri Krishna. He says, no, you have to treat yourself as your friend. This support that you should provide to yourself is extremely crucial. Because if you want to evolve and come out of this suffering of your life, you are your friend. There is negativity around you, but who will help you? You. Why you expect someone else to come and help you? No need. You are there to help yourself. And this becomes very crucial. I have never cultivated this positive relationship between my own higher self and my normal self. I have always created a conflict with this. I have raised expectations from myself so high that I hardly can achieve that. And because I can't achieve it, I create problems for myself. So this is extremely important aspect. Now how to become friends with yourself? That's the question. To become your own friend, Sri Krishna has said that you have to master your mind. What do you mean by mastering the mind? Mastering the mind doesn't mean that you have to make your mind the slave. Mastering the mind is also the same. You can only master your mind if you become friend of yourself. I decide suddenly that I'm going to eat only healthy food. I'll not even touch any bad food. How long this resolve remains? How long can you follow it? Few days, and then you give up. You eat something. Why? The mind is becoming a rebel. Because you're just suppressing the mind. You're not becoming friend with the mind. A very beautiful story told by Swami Satyananda. Very nice story. I'll tell you the story. Probably if you have attended some previous sessions with me, probably you have heard this story. But I'll tell you this story again because it makes perfect sense in this context. There was a king. One day the king was gifted 5 beautiful horses by a friend of this king. His friend gifted him some beautiful 5 horses. Now the king loved those horses and he wanted to ride those horses. But there was little problem, and the problem was these horses were very wild and they were not trained. So he couldn't really catch them. So he asked his trainers if they can train these horses. Now the trainers followed their king's command and they tried to train the horses, but they failed because the horses were too wild and they couldn't train. So they expressed their helplessness to the king and said, "Oh dear king, we can't really train these horses." King felt very sad. But then he announced in the kingdom that anyone who will train these horses, I'll give that person 1,000 gold coins. So the price was very attractive. Many people came, they tried their best, but they failed because the horses were too wild for them. The king almost gave up the hope, and one fine day an old man came and he promised the king that he will train the horses, but he had a condition. The condition was, he said to the king that I will take the horses and I don't want any one of you people to come and see what I'm doing. I'll be back after 5 months and I promise you that I'll train the horses. The king thought for a while and he said, anyway, I can't just keep these horses here. Anyway, they are of no use. So, yeah, you might as well take the horses. So the old man took the horses and as promised, after 5 months, he returned. He was riding the first horse and the remaining 4 horses were following in one line. That was very impressive. Whatever he said, the horses obeyed every command of that old man. The king was very impressed. He said, "Wow, that's fantastic. How could you do it?" Of course, the king gave him the prize, 1,000 gold coins, and he really wanted to know the reason. So he asked this man, say, "Please tell me how you train these horses." And the man told him the story, what he did. It was very interesting what he did. So the man had actually brought these 5 horses and he released them free in his little farm, and the farm had fencing. So the horses had freedom, but the freedom was limited. They could not cross the boundary, but within that boundary they were free. So the old man said to the king that first of all I gave them freedom, but the freedom had limitations. Next day, the old man, he said, I went into that enclosed area. Now the horses looked at me. They did not like my presence. But I just stood there. far away from them, and I didn't do anything. So initially they did not like my presence there, but then after a while they realized that I am harmless, so they got used to my presence. Next, third day, I entered the farm again and I went 10 meters close to them. Again, they didn't like it, but then they got used to it because I didn't do any harm to them. They had their freedom. I didn't do anything to that freedom. Well, like this, every day I kept on going close to them. Few meters close every day. Very little step to become friends with them. Without taking away their freedom, without hurting them, I tried to become a friend. Until one day I went so close that I touched one of the horses. The horse didn't like it. But then it got used to it because I didn't do any harm to the horse. Next day he said I put the saddle on the horse. Didn't like it, but it got used to it because I was a friend of that horse now. And like this, the old man says that I trained all these 5 horses. This is the secret of how we can become friend with our mind. We fight with our mind. The mind says, let's eat that. You say, no, this is not good food. There's a conflict. Mind says, let me do this. You say, no, that's not good. Don't do it. There's a conflict. Many times we do not even let other people know our habits. There's hidden personalities. There's a research that was done. I'll tell you this funny research. People were asked how much you eat and how much you exercise. And whatever people told, the researchers wrote it down. And the same information or the same question was asked to the partner of that person. You see, the husband was asked how much you eat and how much you exercise. The researcher wrote down, and then the researchers went to the wife of that person, and asked her how much he exercises and how much he eats. Like this, the data was collected and the researchers realized that there's a big gap between these 2 sets of information that have come. And they verified it, confirmed it, and they realized that people, when they exercise, they tell 2 times more than what they actually do. And you ask them about food, how much you eat, they tell you half of what they actually eat. Funny, isn't it? This is a gap. It's a big gap. Because there is an ideal self and there's a real self, and there's a gap between that. This is one of our major reasons for our psychological problems. When people have tummy, they want to hide it. They try their best to hide that. There's a gap. When you see the first gray hair, you want to put the color on it, black color on that. Hide it. People want to put makeup on themselves. They want to hide things. Why these kind of things? Because this gap is there. And this gap is affecting our mental health every moment. We do not realize it, but this is a reality. Sri Krishna is addressing that issue in this chapter 6, which is not answered, which is not tackled by science yet. This gap that I am telling you, this subject of becoming friend with yourself, is not discussed by science yet. It's a very important subject, very important aspect. So this is how Sri Krishna starts with chapter 6. And then he says that the one who has conquered the mind, mastered the mind and the sensory organs. The 5 horses are actually 5 sensory organs. They are just not horses for us, they are the sensory organs for us. The person who is friend with himself or herself is the person who has mastered the mind and 5 sensory organs. Then Sri Krishna moves on to, once you master this state of or this sensory organs and mind, then you develop the attitude of equanimity, that is yoga, oneness, equilibrium, a state of equanimity, state of balance. So again Sri Krishna has highlighted this aspect, and then later on he goes on to how you can control the mind and the sensory organs, and he gives practice of yoga and especially the practice of meditation. I told you how to become friends with yourself, but then that process of becoming friends with yourself is an internal process, it's not an external process. And that internal process is all about meditation. So meditation should be taken seriously if you want to become friends with yourself. This conflict between the real self and the ideal self will only go away through the process of meditation. So Sri Krishna is saying that you should sit in a meditative pose, should keep your body, head, neck in one line, focusing on the tip of the nose, following the brahmacharya, the sensory discipline. These days people do meditation, but hardly anyone follows brahmacharya. There is no sensory discipline. If you go to a 10-day program of vipassana, then probably you will certainly follow the sensory discipline, but otherwise we do not follow it. So he says this is essential. It's a requirement of meditation. It's never highlighted these days. You just go through some app on your phone and start meditation, or you go to some yoga class and someone teaches you meditation. These days there's a lot of different new meditations that have come up. I say, you don't need anything, you just start meditation. But that's not going to give you the result that Sri Krishna is telling us. If you want that result, then you must have this brahmacharya, the sensory organ discipline. And then Sri Krishna is saying that you have to look inwards, and inside you have to try and find your connection with the cosmic. So to go inside, to connect with outside. Through eyes you cannot connect, through your sensory organs you cannot connect. You have to cut your connection with the sensory organs and go inside first. But what you find inside is a connection with the cosmic. He is very clearly saying that. To go inside, the purpose is to find your connection to the cosmos. And this is a way Sri Krishna is describing the process of meditation. Of course, he hasn't given other technical details like, oh, focus on the breath and visualize this and that, because that he is asking, uh, he is assuming that Arjuna understands this process, because Arjuna was a learned yoga practitioner. He was not some kind of new person to yoga science. He stayed in the forest for 12 years just before this war, and he did follow brahmacharya, and he did follow all of these austerities and tapas and yoga practices. So he knew about meditation. So that's the reason why Sri Krishna has not talked too much about it. Now, after this aspect, Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna about the lifestyle, and this becomes the central part of chapter 6. Yukta hara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. This is the verse. Verse number 17 in chapter 6 is a very powerful statement made 5000 years ago. Yukta hara viharasya, discipline in lifestyle. Now, what are the aspects of lifestyle that Sri Krishna is highlighting here? First lifestyle aspect he is highlighting here is ahar. Ahar. In at a gross level, the ahar is understood as diet, the food that we eat. But at a subtle level in Bhagavad Gita, the diet is just not for your tongue, it's for your eyes. The food is for your eyes also, for your ears also, for your skin. So I mean, all 5 sensory organs, there is a food, and that food needs to be controlled. Now every one of us, I'm sure I can say it with confidence, every one of us who's here understands the importance of food. The science has understood the importance of food. The most difficult diseases like diabetes, heart diseases, hypertension, which are said to be the lifetime diseases. Now science is saying, now the research is saying, you can reverse diabetes. You can get rid of diabetes just with lifestyle modifications. There's no medication that gets rid of diabetes. Let me be very clear with you. You take metformin, it doesn't heal you. It doesn't heal your diabetes. Ozempic came, Mounjaro came, especially for diabetes and then obesity. But they are not the drugs for healing diabetes. It's just a subscription model. My friend said that it's a subscription model. The companies have developed new subscription model. First it was metformin, now it's Mounjaro, now it's Ozempic. Well, there is no way these companies will refute what statement I am making. There's evidence. If you stop taking these drugs, you put on weight again. Your diabetes again is back. But you can reverse it just through lifestyle. There's enough studies to highlight this fact. So lifestyle, 5000 years ago, Sri Krishna is highlighting this aspect. You can understand that at that time, this knowledge was there. Probably it got lost in all these years, and now it's coming again back because of the studies on lifestyle. And we all understand how much science is giving importance to diet. So I'm not going to talk about diet too much, but he says interesting thing, one more thing about diet. Sri Krishna is saying it in the same chapter 6. He says if you eat too much, it will be a problem for you. But along with that, he adds one more thing. He says if you don't eat, that is fasting, then also there's a problem. Well, this is a tricky thing. Buddha also said the middle path. Look, Buddha's own practices does include fasting for 2 months. Buddha did not eat anything for 2 months. Sorry, 40 days. Absolutely no food for 40 days. He mastered that. But then when he did all of these practices, he later told people that you don't need to do that. Middle path, follow middle path. Do not overstress yourself. Do not go to the extremes. Middle path, follow middle path. So this is exactly what Sri Krishna is saying here in Bhagavad Gita also. If you eat too much, problem. If you don't eat at all, problem. And now I'll tell you, more powerful researches these days are not about fasting. More powerful researches, like more effective diet rule, is about calorie restricted diet. Calorie restricted diet. You go to AI models, and AI models will tell you that yes, calorie restriction is extremely important. That is actually the one that will give you more benefits in metabolic health. So I think this was known to Sri Krishna 5000 years ago, and he's saying that these are important rules if you want to meditate. You can't just say, I'll do whatever I want and I'll still meditate and I'll still be good. No. That's not going to happen. Follow these rules. Second rule of lifestyle he's talking about is sleep. Now we understand with scientific evidence that sleep is extremely important. 10 years ago, sleep was not as important as per science. But now we know that actually all our problems have direct connection with sleep. Obesity is the problem in the world today. How many of you know that obesity has direct link with sleep problems? If your sleep is bad, however good you eat or not eat, however good you do exercise or not do exercise, it's not going to have any effect. Sleep is one of the main reasons for psychological health. Depression, anxiety, stress, they have direct connection with sleep. Cancer, one of the risk factors of cancer is sleeplessness. Bad sleep is a risk problem, is a risk that can result in cancer. Now we understand sleep is extremely important. So Sri Krishna is saying that if you want to follow the path of yoga, sleep is very important. Again he says, if you sleep too much, there's a problem. If you do not sleep or if you sleep less, there is a problem. So optimum food, optimum sleep, this is extremely important. For any yoga practitioner, I'm sure all of you are following yoga. That's how you are continuing with this Bhagavad Gita sessions. I'm quite impressed with this group. You're maintaining your interest after 6 sessions. This is 6th, right? 6th session? Or 7th? 6th. So that's nice. Well, in the group, there are more than 300 people. But attendance is you guys. So that's nice. Anyway. So sleep, then diet. The next aspect Sri Krishna mentions here is your routine, daily routine. Now, the scientific research is just realizing the importance of routine. For example, now I'll tell you the now latest scientific evidence suggests that if you want to have the good sleep, or if you don't want problems because of lack of sleep, the most important thing is you should sleep on the same time, you should get up at the same time every day. The same thing has come to the food. You should eat at the same time every day. Because if you change the time, it's going to affect your health. Is there any evidence? I'll tell you some very simple evidence. If you eat late in the evening or in the morning, next day your sugar spikes are much higher. These days you get these continuous glucose monitors. They attach it to your skin, and there's a small needle which goes inside, intramuscular. It's IM intramuscular one, and it connects to your mobile phone, and it gives you the live sugar reading. If you attach it to yourself and check, mess up the timing of your food and see what happens next day with your sugar. It has higher spikes. So if your timing is going to mess up every day, then diabetes will be there soon. As simple as that. So I'm just telling you the scientific evidence for the routine. Now we understand with scientific studies what time you should do exercise, what time you should rest. They are all your routine based things. I cannot do exercise one day in the morning, second day in the afternoon, third day in the night. That's going to mess up my cortisol cycles. My hormonal cycles will be completely messed up. So that's again scientific evidence to what Sri Krishna is saying. The discipline in my routine. Every day waking up at the same time, every day eating same time, every day doing exercise same time, every day my rest same time, whatever mental work I am doing same time. This is very important. The next thing Sri Krishna is saying in this lifestyle aspect is he recommends moderation in everything. Now this word is also something that we need to understand more. Every karma that I do, there should be moderation. People get into this drinking water thing. Say, oh, you need to drink 5 to 7 liters of water every day. They have bottles everywhere all the time, carrying bottles. Look, there are studies now that suggest that too much water is also not good for you. Especially if you're drinking water just before your food and just after your food. It's not good for you, I'm telling you. There's a lot of evidence that say that your digestive secretions are diluted and it stresses your digestive system. As a genetic, like if you go into the history of our generations, we can handle dehydration better, but we are not used to handling too much water in the body, because in the past we never lived next to the water. We always had to carry water from somewhere, and we never carried water bottles. So we used to drink not with continuous, like after every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes. That's not how we are used to. So it definitely is a new thing for our body when we start sipping every 5 minutes, sipping water, every 5 minutes sipping water. So I'm not saying don't drink water. And I'm also not saying that drink too much water. Moderation. We say glucose. Oh, too much glucose, diabetes. But do you know that when you are sick, when you go to the hospital, the first thing the doctor administers in your blood is glucose, because that saves your life. Salt is bad. Oh, it causes hypertension, stroke. Well, go to the hospital. The first thing the doctors put in your blood is salt and glucose. So they are neither bad, neither good. What decides whether they are good or bad is the moderation. So it's important to understand this word. Now many times in our life we work, and the work becomes like the central theme. Oh, I'm so busy, 16 hours, 18 hours a day I'm working in the office. Well, work and life balance is disturbed. Everyone uses this word these days, work-life balance. There's no moderation. That's why it's a problem. Nowadays, the mobile use has increased. Every few minutes we have to watch the mobile. I'm quite impressed with those of you who kept the cameras on. Your eyes are continuously on the screen. I don't know those who kept the cameras off. I don't know if you're just going to social media for just quick check as to what is happening. FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, look, if your social media use is more than 1.5 hours every day, the chances of you getting psychological problems are 300% more. I'm telling you studies. I'm telling you researchers. It's not my figure. So check it. You can see your social media use. On iPhone it shows the screen time also, and on Android phones also you can see the screen time. And in the screen time, what apps you use, that's also shown. So check it. So again, moderation is important. Too much is a problem. So this word moderation applies to everything. In relationships also, sometimes people just get into this relationship and they are like all fascinated. Oh, this is my beautiful friend and we are just like so close and all of these things. And then a little problem in the relationship makes them depressed. Because again, it's too much. Anything that is too much is a problem. So understand this moderation word. So this is how Sri Krishna has described the lifestyle. And he says that this discipline in every aspect of this lifestyle is the prerequisite, is the most important aspect of your yoga practice. Do not think that asanas is most important. Do not think meditation is the most important. This is the basis. Lifestyle is the basis, the foundation. And if this lifestyle is good, then other things will fall in place very quickly. You can achieve very good levels in the yoga practice very quickly. Your health will be improved, physical and mental both. Many of you have met Guruji, my father. He's 81 years old. And look at him, just an inspiration. I tell you, he's leading a new project. And surprisingly, all of the people in that group that he's made are all below 45. And the most creative contribution and most active contribution is Guruji's contribution. I am shocked to see that. Tonight, again, he's organized a meeting. So it's amazing to see how wonderfully he's working at this age. And the secret is all in the lifestyle, the discipline of lifestyle. Those who have watched him carefully from close, you will see that at 7:30 he is walking and he is in this particular area at 7:30 in the morning. Doesn't matter what day it is, you will see him there. 8 o'clock he is doing his mantra chanting. No matter what happens, he is there chanting his mantras. We know the time, and I can tell people that don't call now. Call after 10:30 to 11, because after 11 again he has some sessions. So this is the discipline, and that has kept him very healthy, very strong. There's no brain degeneration at his age. I am shocked to see that. The secret is lifestyle, as per Sri Krishna. So this is the theme of chapter 6. And then Sri Krishna is giving some hints as to how you can achieve it. And he says you may not achieve it immediately. So he is a shanaihi. Like go very little step at a time. This is probably a very important lesson for every one of us. When we want to make changes to our life, we take big leaps. I am going to bed every night at 12:30 and suddenly I decide to go to bed at 10:30. Well, that's not going to be possible. My habits don't change immediately, and the story of that horse, those 5 horses, is the classic example. And I'll tell you another story of my guru, Swami Niranjanananda. He's also now retired. He's the head of Bihar School of Yoga. So Swami Niranjanananda, he had a little problem that he would not get up early in the morning. He loved sleeping. So he would get up late. But when he came to Bihar School of Yoga, it became a problem because Swami Satyananda, his guru, made him the president of Bihar School of Yoga. Now, if he was a president at such a young age, then people were looking at him like a role model. And then he started feeling terrible. Said, oh, I am getting up late. That's not good. And that time Swami Satyananda used to conduct sessions early in the morning at 5 o'clock. And Swami Niranjan used to get up at 7:15, something like that. He felt very bad. So he decided that no, that's not good. So I'll wake up at 4 o'clock from tomorrow. So in his own words, I'm telling you this story. So he set up his alarm clock at 4 o'clock. The next day he got up at 4 o'clock. And he felt good about it. But the second day, it became 4:30. Third day, it became 5 o'clock. And after 1 week, it again became 7 o'clock. Now this happened few times. And every time he would start, no, now this is resolve. Yes, final resolve. Write down and remember and all these things. Didn't work out. Then what he did is he decided that he'll sleep half an hour early, and he did not put any alarm for a couple of days. So when he did not put any alarm, he got up at around 6:30 to 7. That was the duration that he got up. So then he decided that he will put an alarm for 6:15. Shanaihi, very small step, very little step, very slow progress, 6:15. And then he started getting up at 6:15, and it continued because it was only 15 minutes and it didn't really affect him. So he continued 6:15 wake up time for about a month. Then he made it 6 o'clock. Again, it was easy for him because then he could do little yoga nidra later in the afternoon. 6 o'clock became easy for him. Then after 3 months, the timing came to 5:30 in the morning. Then it was a little tricky for him. So he stayed with the timing for about a couple of months. So it took him 6 months to go from 6:30 to 5:30. Like this, he continued very slowly till he got up at 4 o'clock. It took him about a year, but he achieved it. And then in that 1 year process, in that 1 year practice, he mastered the sleep to a point where he could stay awake the whole night and still he was perfectly fine because he had mastered his sleep. He could get the deep rest within a short period of time. And there was a time in his life when he was organizing a international conference which was attended by more than 2,000 people. And people who attended that and worked alongside him have observed that he did not sleep for 12 days, not a minute. Not even 1 minute he slept. He was awake 24 hours for 12 days. Of course, I'm not suggesting that we should do it, but that is a mastery over sleep. And he mastered that sleep with this practice very slowly, shanaihi, small steps at a time. So virtually I told you the secret to become your friend, to master your mind, to master your sensory organs, and how to master them. And this is a very, very critical part of our yoga practice. This is the highlight of chapter 6. Now again, the same theme of how difficult it is to control the mind and sensory organs. Arjuna is asking again Sri Krishna that, okay, you told me slowly, but do you have anything more to add to it? Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadrudam tasyaham nigraham manne vayuriva sudushkaram. It's so difficult. You're saying all these things, but the mind is so difficult. It's like stopping the wind. Can I stop the wind? It's like that. Can I stop the mind? Can I control the mind? Can I handle the mind? And Sri Krishna says, yes, you're right. It's very difficult. You probably can achieve anything in your life, but it's very hard to control the mind. And Sri Krishna agrees with him. But then Sri Krishna gives him two words, which are the same words that Patanjali has given. And I want you to focus on these two words, because this will become the central theme of the chapter 6 and today's discussion. The first word that Sri Krishna has used is abhyasa. Abhyasa means a regular practice and long duration, years together, minimum 12 years. Everyday practice, long duration practice. That is abhyasa. You're practicing meditation? Yes, I tried it couple of times. It's not possible for me. No. Practice every day, 12 years. Then you will achieve it. So, abhyasa is the first word. Regular practice done for very long period of time. That's the only way to master this mind and sensory organs. The second word he is used is vairagya. Vairagya. Developing non-attachment. This is hard. We've been talking about it. Central theme of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 18, all chapters he's talked about this. Vairagya, mastering the sensory organs. I have talked so much on it, I'm not going to talk again right now here. Told you so many stories about the sensory organ mastery. So he's saying these two are the main ones to control the mind. If you do not do this, mind will not come under your control. So I want you to remember these two words, abhyasa and vairagya, because the same words are used by Patanjali in Ashtanga Yoga. And the definition of abhyasa and vairagya is very same in Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga and Bhagavad Gita. Same, because they are Sanskrit words, they don't change meaning. Same meaning. The last part of this chapter 6 is a very interesting verse. Arjuna is asking Sri Krishna that, look, I start my yoga practice in this life, but if I do not achieve the higher levels, what will happen to me? Will I lose everything that I do if I don't achieve anything? You might also be wondering, where I'll reach, I don't know. And what will happen in next life? Should I again start with the basic preparatory movements? Can I still continue with my asana practice? Well, asanas is too primary and preliminary practice. But anyway, what Sri Krishna says is, he says that whatever you have practiced right now or you're practicing in this life, when you are reborn in your next life, you continue from where you left in the last life. You do not go back to the kindergarten. If you have reached this year 7, next life you start from year 8. And you are born in a culture, in a family, in a situation where it's easier for you to practice this. So you are born with the environment that will support your practice. This is interesting. So he's basically saying that you continue from where you left and you have all the resources in your next life. Now this is a powerful statement Sri Krishna is making. He's basically predicting your next life. But it's in relation with yoga practice. He's not talking about, can you take $1 million from this life to the next life, and when you're born in next life you again have $1 million. He's not talking about money. He's talking about your yoga practice levels. But still it's very significant. And he says that this sanskar that we carry, the sanskar of yoga, the conditionings and the habits and the purification that we have achieved through the practices of yoga is a continuous process. It's not going back to the first step. You start from where you left. And the last verse of this chapter 6 is interesting. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi jnanibhyopi matodhikaha karmibhyashchadhiko yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Tapasvi, the ones who do austerities. Many people do very difficult austerities, fasting, then very strict guidelines, very strict discipline, maybe sannyas, becoming a monk. One category of people. Another category of people is jnani, that is the philosophers. Debate, discuss intellectual thinking, rational thinking. They also are good achievers, super achievers. Some people have goals in their life, they achieve it. I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, I want to achieve that. They are also successful people. But most important of all of this category is yogi, the one who balances his mind, the one who has mastered his mind, the one who has mastered his sensory organs and has maintained the mind in a state of equilibrium, balanced state. That person is the highest. So Sri Krishna is comparing here. This is important. He is comparing different people, different type of people. And he says, who is higher? Higher is the one whose mind is balanced. Higher is the one whose sensory organs are under his own control. Mental reactions are under his own control. And the one who is not affected by anything outside, he is the highest one. So Sri Krishna has given his verdict as to what is the highest level that we need to aim to achieve. So I think I'm going to stop here with this chapter 6. I hope you understood some important points. It's slightly more closely connected to the yoga path that we follow. Not all of us follow karma yoga. but we follow paths similar to Ashtanga Yoga and Hatha Yoga. So this chapter is more close to that path. But again, there are some important highlights, like lifestyle highlights, then how you can become your friend, how you can master your sensory organs and mind. So I hope you will integrate these parts, and this Abhyasa Vairagya, do not forget. And small goals, small stepping stones to Hari Om.